Ground reality check. Are even US officials now beginning to doubt the larger Iran-Israel war plan itself? After the strikes, is Washington now completely clueless, only to replace one Khamenei with another Khamenei? America's top defense official is now openly lashing out at Donald Trump's widening war against Iran. Is the Israel-US war against Iran now heading into a fourth week, with still no visible signs of slowing down? A former CIA director has now accused Trump of triggering this war without any real strategy in place. On March 22, a former top American official and former CIA director publicly came down strongly against Trump's handling of the war with Iran. Leon Panetta, who also served as US Defense Secretary, accused Trump of sending what he described as a message of weakness through his decisions. The former CIA chief made these damaging observations in a Guardian report that was published on March 22. Panetta alleged that Trump ignored repeated warnings that Iran could respond by engineering a wider energy crisis. Panetta said Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has now left Trump without any clear exit plan. Panetta told The Guardian that Donald Trump is now stuck in a difficult position with very limited room to maneuver. Leon Panetta said, and I quote, "He tends to be naive about how things can happen. If he says it and keeps saying it, there's always a hope that what he says will come true. But that's what kids do. It's not what presidents do. This is not rocket science to understand that if you're going to conduct a war with Iran, one of the great vulnerabilities is the Strait of Hormuz, and it could create an immense oil crisis that could drive the price of fuel sky high. In every National Security Council I've been a part of where we've talked about Iran, that subject always came up." End quote. Panetta argued that the current Hormuz crisis was not an unavoidable surprise, but a problem shaped by decisions taken by President Trump. He further alleged that the Trump administration miscalculated both the likely duration of the war and the scale of Iran's retaliation. The former CIA chief also claimed that Trump now has no easy path out of the ongoing conflict with Iran. Leon Panetta said, and I quote, "For some reason, either they didn't consider there could be a consequence or they thought the war would end quickly and they wouldn't have to worry about that. Whatever it was, they were not prepared for it and they're now paying a price because, if there was an escape here for Trump, it would be to declare victory and it's over and we've been able to be successful in all of our military targets. The problem is he can declare victory all he wants, but if he doesn't get the ceasefire, he's got nothing. And he's not going to get a ceasefire as long as Iran is holding the gun of the Strait of Hormuz against his head." End quote. Panetta also criticized the US president and said the killing of Khamenei came at the wrong moment in political terms. The former CIA chief said Trump is now left with two difficult options: continue the war, or end it in a way that looks like defeat. Leon Panetta said, and I quote, "We replaced an old guy, a supreme leader who was near death at a time when the people of Iran were willing to take to the streets, with the hope that they could ultimately change their way of government. And instead today we have a more entrenched regime. We have a younger supreme leader who's going to be there a while, and he's much more of a hardliner than the first supreme leader. That didn't turn out too well. He's facing a very tough issue, which is, does he go to expand the war by trying to get the Strait of Hormuz open so that he can eliminate that leverage and maybe be able to ultimately negotiate with Iran? Or does he just simply walk away and declare victory? Although everybody will clearly understand that he's failed, it's a very tough position he's in right now, but nobody else is responsible for where he's at than Donald Trump." End quote. With the energy crisis worsening, Panetta suggested Trump may soon see no practical option other than putting troops on the ground. The former CIA director claimed Trump may need to use American troops to seize control of the Strait of Hormuz. Panetta alleged there is no other workable option for the United States and warned that the economic consequences could deepen into a global recession. Leon Panetta said, and I quote, There's no question there's going to be lives lost, and it's clearly going to expand the war, but I don't see the alternative. He's got to do it. He's talked a great deal about the strength of the United States. This is a test of whether the United States can be able to deal with that situation, which otherwise is not only going to prolong the war but create a lot of economic damage to the United States with those soaring fuel prices, and cause what some have said is a potential worldwide recession. There's not much choice. You've got to do what you have to do, and if you can open the strait, it might give you a better chance to then have a basis on which you can negotiate hopefully some kind of ceasefire. That's the only way that he can go at this point. Otherwise he will clearly have failed to find a solution." End quote. On NATO, he argued that failing to properly inform allies before the war has left America without reliable backing now. This came after Trump accused NATO countries of being cowards for refusing to back the US in the Strait of Hormuz. The former US Defense Secretary also criticized Trump for refusing to accept responsibility over the Minab strike. Leon Panetta said, and I quote, "If you're planning a war, it's not a bad idea to talk to your allies. Alliances are important to be able to support any kind of military effort. We've learned that lesson going back a long way to World War II. But Trump takes a callous approach to alliances, and now he suddenly finds himself in a place where he's got to turn to allies, to NATO and to others, all of whom he certainly hasn't treated well in his presidency, to try to help bail him out. The chickens are coming home to roost." Any other president of the United States would have recognized the mistake and apologized for what happened. He doesn't do that. It sends an image of America that kind of fits the ugly American image that a lot of people once had of this country. End quote. The US president is also reportedly losing public support over the continuing war against Iran. Donald Trump's polling numbers are reportedly falling ahead of the upcoming midterm elections. Meanwhile, NATO Chief Mark Rutte said on March 22 that 22 countries are now forming a group around the Hormuz issue. That group includes NATO members, South Korea, Japan, and Gulf nations that are working to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Rutte also said in a Fox interview that Trump's war against Iran had been necessary.
Well, let me first of all say that I know there is a lot of debate in the US and in Europe whether this campaign of the president against Iran was necessary. And let me tell you, it is. It is crucial that the US is doing this. I know the president was angry because he feels that European and other allies have been too slow. The good news here is that since Thursday, a group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the UAE and Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO, coming together to implement his vision of making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is free, is opening up as soon as that is possible. When it comes to the Strait, what we need to do is to work together. These 22 nations, again, most of them from NATO, but also the other ones I mentioned, to work through what is needed, when is it needed, and how we will make this together as soon as the time is ripe to get this done, to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz opens up. The United States has been planning for this for weeks. For obvious reasons, because of security, it was impossible to share that knowledge with allies, because that would then have prevented the effect of the first attack, because there was a risk always of leaking. So I totally understand why the US was not able to share this with allies. But at the same time, it means that European allies and partners all over the world have used the last couple of weeks to make sure that we come together, that they started planning to see what we can do collectively as allies, as partners of the United States, at the moment that's possible, for the Strait of Hormuz to open up, and therefore answering the president's call on this.